Between 1978 and 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer murdered 17 young men. He didn't just kill them, he dismembered them, photographed them, kept their body parts. This is the story of every victim, and how one of them finally stopped him. Victim 1. Stephen Hicks, 19 years old, June 1978. Dahmer picks him up hitchhiking, takes him home, they drink beer. When Stephen tries to leave, Dahmer hits him with a barbell, strangles him, dismembers the body, buries the pieces in his backyard. 9 years pass before Dahmer kills again. September 1987. Victim 2. Stephen Tuomi, 24 years old. Dahmer meets him at a bar. They get a hotel room. Dahmer claims he doesn't remember killing him. He wakes up next to Tuomi's body, buys a suitcase, puts the body inside, takes it to his grandmother's basement, dismembers him there. Victim 3. Jamie Doxtator, 14 years old, January 1988. Dahmer offers him money to pose for photos, takes him to his grandmother's basement, drugs him, strangles him, keeps the skull. Victim 4. Richard Guerrero, 22 years old, March 1988. Same pattern. Dahmer's grandmother starts smelling something terrible from the basement. She tells him to move out. He does, but he keeps killing. Victim 5. Anthony Sears, 24 years old, March 1989. Dahmer takes him to his grandmother's basement one last time. Kills him, keeps his skull and genitals. Preserved in acetone. May 1990. Dahmer moves into his own apartment, number 213, at the Oxford Apartments in Milwaukee. The killing accelerates. Victim 6. Raymond Smith, 33 years old, May 1990. Dahmer offers him money for photos, drugs him, strangles him, keeps his skull, paints it gray. Victim 7. Edward Smith, 27 years old, June 1990. Same apartment, same method. Dahmer keeps his skull too. Victim 8. Ernest Miller, 22 years old, September 1990. Dahmer keeps his skeleton, bleaches the bones, displays them. Victim 9. David Thomas, 22 years old, September 1990. Dahmer doesn't keep any of his remains. He later says he wasn't his type. Victim 10. Curtis Straughter, 19 years old, February 1991. Dahmer keeps his skull and hands. Victim 11. Errol Lindsay, 19 years old, April 1991. Dahmer tries something new. He drills a hole in Lindsay's skull, pours acid in, trying to create a living zombie. It doesn't work. Lindsay dies. Victim 12. Tony Hughes, 31 years old, May 1991. Hughes was deaf. Dahmer communicated with him by writing notes, lured him to his apartment, drugged him, killed him, kept his skull. Victim 13. Konarak Synthosomephone, 14 years old, May 1991. This is where it gets worse. Dahmer drugs him, drills into his skull, pours acid in his brain. Konarak escapes, runs outside, naked, confused. Neighbors call police. 3 officers arrive. Dahmer convinces them Konarak is his 19-year-old boyfriend. That they just had a fight. The police believe him. They escort Konarak back to Dahmer's apartment. One officer even jokes about it on the radio. The officers leave. Dahmer kills Konarak within the hour. Those officers were later fired, but Konarak was already dead. Victim 14. Matt Turner, 20 years old, June 1991. Met at Chicago Pride Parade. Dahmer brings him back to Milwaukee. kills him, keeps his head in the freezer. Victim 15. Jeremiah Weinberger, 23 years old, July 1991. Spent the weekend with Dahmer. Seemed to be having a good time. Then Dahmer drugged him. Performed the skull drilling experiment again. Weinberger died slowly over 2 days. Victim 16. Oliver Lacey, 23 years old, July 1991. Dahmer keeps his head and heart in the refrigerator, his body in the bedroom. Victim 17. Joseph Braidhoft, 25 years old, July 1991. The last victim. Dahmer kills him on July 19th. 3 days later, victim number 18 escapes. July 22nd, 1991. Tracy Edwards, 32 years old. Dahmer handcuffs him, pulls out a knife, threatens to cut out his heart and eat it. Tracy fights back, punches Dahmer, runs out of the apartment, still handcuffed. Flags down a police car. Officers Robert Routh and Rolf Mueller respond. Tracy tells them a man tried to kill him. He points to apartment 213. The officers knock. Dahmer answers. Seems calm, polite. They ask about the handcuffs. Dahmer says the key is in the bedroom. Officer Mueller goes to get it. He opens the bedroom door and sees hell. Polaroid photos covering the walls. Dismembered bodies. Skulls. A human head in the refrigerator. A torso in the closet. Hands and genitals in a pot. 7 skulls painted gray. 2 human hearts in the freezer. An entire human skeleton. Body parts in acid-filled barrels. Officer Mueller runs out. Dahmer tries to fight. They tackle him. Handcuff him. Arrest him. The search of apartment 213 takes hours. They find remains of 11 victims, some dating back months. Dahmer had been living with the bodies, sleeping next to them, eating meals surrounded by human remains. He confesses to everything. 17 murders over 13 years. He describes each killing in detail, shows no emotion. When asked why, Dahmer says he didn't want them to leave. He wanted to keep them forever. February 1992. Dahmer pleads guilty but insane. The jury finds him sane. Guilty on 15 counts of murder. Sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms. Over 900 years in prison. He's sent to Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. November 28, 1994. Dahmer is in the prison gym. Another inmate, Christopher Scarver, attacks him with a metal bar. Beats him to death. Dahmer dies from his injuries. He was 34 years old. 17 victims. 17 families destroyed. Most victims were young men of color. Many from marginalized communities. People the system failed to protect. Konarak Synthesomophone's case is the most haunting. Police literally delivered him back to his killer. Those officers were fired, then reinstated with back pay. One became president of the Milwaukee Police Association. The families got settlements, but no justice. Jeffrey Dahmer is dead, but the victims are still gone. Stephen Hicks, Stephen Tuomi, Jamie Dockstader, Richard Guerrero, Anthony Sears, Raymond Smith, Edward Smith, Ernest Miller, David Thomas, Curtis Straughter, Errol Lindsay, Tony Hughes, Konarak Synthesomophone, Matt Turner, Jeremiah Weinberger, Oliver Lacey, Joseph Braidhoft. 17 names, 17 lives, 17 families who will never be whole again. Tracy Edwards saved himself, and probably saved countless others. Because Dahmer wasn't stopping, he was accelerating. If Tracy hadn't escaped, there would have been more victims. Many more. Jeffrey Dahmer was a monster. But he was a human monster. And that's what makes it so terrifying. He looked normal. Acted normal, convinced police he was normal. While bodies rotted in his apartment. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like your neighbor.